Morning, people. Morning, folks. Welcome aboard. As you can all see, I'm still at home. That's because I'm having a wee break for being out in trucks. I'm doing something else for the time being. I did say I was going to change what I was doing for a living. Still driving, just in the evenings. And as you know, my show goes out at 11 o'clock in the morning. Talking about my show, as we're waiting 100 people getting on board. Yesterday was a hell of a strange day. Only 150 shares, but over 2,000 people viewed the video. I guess I must have did something wrong. Either that, Facebook are limiting us again, which is possible. Gordon Ross has also been reporting that his show is being limited as well. So as I say, it's highly possible. So if you like what I do, folks, you know I don't self-promote, but if you like what I do, please share the video around, okay? No, let's get a wee look. Well, we got 101. Who we got on board? Who would that be? That'd be Fiona McFarlane this morning. Good morning, Fiona. Anyway, it's Indytruck Davy out the truck and at home in his office in his home in Salisbury, where it is clearing up nicely at the moment. And 10 degrees. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. You want to know what the weather's like where you are? Look at the bloody windy. Alright. So let's move on and get this report underway. Okay. News review, Monday the 30th of the 5th, 2022. Monday started with two main themes in the rags. Floating tunnelled highways between Scotland's islands and millions face power cuts due to high oil and gas prices, right? Now the tunnels between the islands comes after Scotland Office Minister Ian Stewart visited the Faroe Islands and saw a network of floating tunnels there. It costs about 20 million quid per kilometre to build. Now Bojo and his criminal cabal won't spend that sort of money in Scotland, as we already know. Remember, from Bojo's point of view, a pound spent in Croydon is worth more to the UK Exchequer than a pound spent in Strathclyde. Okay, so there's absolutely no chance that there'll be a tunnel network built, floating tunnel network built to connect Scotland's islands to the mainland and to each other. Okay. Right, as to millions facing power cuts due to high prices of oil and gas, they must be planning to divert electricity from Scotland to England because Scotland is 97% powered by renewables. Only a couple of our islands are powered by oil. England is powered exclusively by gas and oil. There are 30 gas turbines down that road producing power, and there are 11 oil power stations down that road, 10 of which are running about the Greater London area and one is in Wales. Okay. Right, the other headlines of note in the rags were Scottish food banks struggle to cope as the cost of living soars. Well, you know, as the price of living goes up, there's less with disposable income to be able to make donations to food banks. Alright. And the other one is Bojo plans bonfire of EU laws to appease rebel MPs trying to oust him. Now, mere divergence from the EU, divergence from the EU is something that we really don't need right now. To complicate an already complicated export system and import system which has been put in place because of Brexit would be bloody madness at this point in time. But as you know, there could well be a trade war coming with the EU, and Scottish ministers here at in Holyrood are already drawn up contingency plans to try and minimise the damage to the Scottish economy and to Scottish industry. So there you have it, folks. Bojo and his ultimate madness and in his big dog 2.0 attempt to save himself is planning further divergence from the single market. which just means that manufacturers, food producers, and everybody actually right across the board who has any exports to the EU will find it becoming more complicated and more costly. Bojo and his criminal cabal are closing Little Britain down to the rest of the world. No just to be facing a trade war with the EU, we're also facing sanctions from the US and probably other places in the world if the UK government, as they plan to do, destabilise Northern Ireland by unilaterally changing the protocols. We'll get a wee bit more of that as we get into the report. Alright, moving on Monday, and here in Scotland, it's been reported that a Scottish government intend to allow rape victims and victims of domestic abuse to have face-to-face meetings with those who committed the offences against them. Now, the programme's called Restorative Justice and has been in place for a while in Scotland. Victims of low-level youth crime have been able to meet those who made their lives miserable, and the idea is that the victim sees and hears the effects they have had on the victims. The perpetrator sees and hears the effect they've had on the victims, and hopefully it gets them to change their ways and no longer commit such crimes. So the idea is now to extend it to those who have suffered sexual assault and domestic abuse. We'll see how that goes. I don't have an opinion on whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, because Davy's not really been the victim of crime. So Davy doesn't really understand it. Alright, moving on Monday. And doing that road in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers, it's reported that amid travel chaos at the port of Dover, the UK government cancels ferry contracts with P&O over the sacking of 800 UK employees. The Home Office said a P&O agreement with the border force would be scrapped immediately. Transport Secretary Grant Sharp tweeted, "We are reforming maritime law to stop firms exploiting legal loopholes, and they're doing it to protect workers' rights." There's a heard it there, eh? A Home Office spokesperson said the border force had cancelled its deal with P&O to provide contingency travel services to juxtapose ports, meaning ports that are not normally on the ferry routes. Alright, so if there's a problem at Dover or whatever, then Dover Calais, then they can divert. P&O were the go-to to divert to other ports in Holland and in France and Portugal and that sort of thing. So that contract with P&O has now been scrapped. Now, as we know, P&O are not fully up and running anywhere at the moment. There's a couple of their tubs are still pounded in Dover, and I think there's still one pounded in Larne. I could be wrong, because the P&O story has disappeared over the last few weeks, so it's very hard to keep up with. Okay, right, moving on Monday, and doing that road, the UK government halt the fast track scheme to bring the brightest and best graduates in the world to the UK. Now, the much heralded graduate scheme has to be paused for at least a year as the UK government moves to cut staff. Remember, the UK government plans to help with the cost of living crisis, or plans to help with the cost of living crisis is to throw 90,000 civil servants on the feckin' scrap heap. Wonderful. Cutting the tax income that they get for the 90,000 civil servants and creating 90,000 more poor people. Well, anyway, the graduates won't be needed in the UK anywho, because there won't be any work for them in an isolated little England / Britain. Alright, and we've just spoken about how the UK government's alienating itself with the rest of the world with its madness. Our Brexit, the NI protocols, and the potential for a trade war with the EU and sanctions from the US. Okay, right, moving on Monday. Lord Evans, who headed up a cross-parliamentary committee regarding standards in public life, says Bojo's filleting of the ministerial code was disappointing and a missed opportunity. Now, Lord Evans and his committee had recently submitted a report on how to improve standards in public life and to help restore public confidence in politics and politicians. Lord Evans' report has been shredded and dumped in the bin. Bojo's butchering of the ministerial code will further cause a rift between the UK citizens and UK politics, and that is absolutely correct. There is no trust in the mechanisms and the movements of the House of Thieves and carpetbaggers down that road. Not even the idiots in England who voted these spanners in actually trust them or have any confidence in them, especially as they watch Brexit progress and their livelihoods disappear. The cost of living crisis is soaring, and the middle classes are taking the right smack in the bahookie. And that's where you would normally find traditional Tory voters. So, it would appear that the Bojo fillet in the ministerial code is making an impact down that road, and Lord Evans, who of course was writing the report on improving standards in public life, says it was a missed opportunity. I think the guy was being absolutely generous by saying a missed opportunity. He's no doubt he was standing in the corner doing a Davy rant. Right, moving on Monday, and down that road, a former Attorney General, Jeremy Wright MP, puts in a letter of no confidence in Bojo the Clown. It's now believed that there are over 40 MPs who have submitted letters to the letters of no confidence to the 1922 committee, alright? But listen, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. Don't be surprised if they reach that 50, 40, 59 votes quite quickly. Once we go, we surveyed the Conservative Party. If they believe that Bojo would win that vote of no confidence, then Bojo will get some of his supporters to fire in letters as well to get it out the road. He's just butchered the ministerial code, which we've just spoke about, to ensure he's not going to have to resign our party gate. Bojo, isn't he above a wee bit of shimmy here, a wee bit of chicanery here, getting his supporters to batter in the rest of these letters, get the vote out the road, win the vote, and that means Bojo's untouchable unless they change the rules at the Tory party for the next 12 months. So don't be surprised if we reach that 50, 40, 59 letters over the course of the next week, when Michael Gove's finished spinning like a top, bouncing from Tory MP to Tory MP to measure the amount of support Bojo's got to remain in office. Alright, so this one's not gone away, but there's every chance that very shortly there'll be a vote of confidence, no confidence in Bojo, and Bojo will win that vote of no confidence. Remember, Theresa May did as well. There was a vote of no confidence in her, and she won that vote of no confidence, which meant she couldn't be touched for another 12 months, and that's when Bojo reared his ugly head. Alright. Right, moving on, Monday. And over in Northern Ireland, Michelle O'Neill had called a sitting of the Stormont Assembly to try and get the Assembly up and running. Sinn Féin are demanding that the DUP respect democracy and get the Assembly up and running. The DUP kiboshed any chance of that by failing to support the election of a Speaker for the Assembly, alright. Now the DUP restated that it won't enter into the power sharing arrangement in Northern Ireland until the NI protocols are scrapped. Now, as we here in Scotland know, the NI protocols are popular and give Northern Ireland the best of both worlds and a competitive edge. Now, it was the same deal that Nicola Sturgeon wanted for Scotland in her key paper that she sent to Westminster after the Brexit vote, and that paper was called Scotland's Place in Europe. As we know, Westminster shredded it. So the people who got what they wanted out of Brexit were the Welsh, the English and the Northern Irish. They all got what they voted for. Wales and England got out. Northern Ireland got the halfway house that they voted. Northern Ireland got to stay in. After all, they voted remain. The only part of the UK that get treated like shite and didn't have its vote considered once again was Scotland. But we're not surprised about that, because what we've had so far over the last few years, as Miss Sturgeon's been asking for Section 30 orders, is the denial of democracy. here in Scotland. We are a second-class citizen within the UK, and our democracy Disney bloody well couldn't. Well, it's going to couldn't this time, because I don't know if you've seen me Govey on Andrew Marr on the 28th, Saturday. Wee Govey was spinning like a top as Marr pinned him to the ground on the democratic mandate of the Scottish people. Govey once again reiterated that the UK government would not be taking the Scottish government to court if they passed the legislation for the legislation for an independence referendum. And what he wouldn't do was answer what they would do. All he would say is, we're concentrating on recovery. But Marr didn't have pin him to the deck. He says, hey, the Scottish government's got 47% of the vote on that mandate. Cameron only had 38% of the vote on a mandate for a Brexit referendum. How can you deny the Scottish people? He also put it straight to Gove. He says, Govey, can the Scottish people leave the UK? And Gove, of course, had to say, aye, of course they can. But they couldn't pin Govey down on anything. But wee Govey did reiterate once again that there wouldn't be any legal proceedings against the Scottish government if they passed that legislation to hold that referendum. So there you have it, folks. They know it's coming. They know it's going to be the tail end of next year. And they are getting ready for it. But we know that Better Together, or what's left of the remnants of it, are gathering in the black money right now. Scotland and the Union are crowdfunding like FET. The Scottish Unionist Trust is getting money poured into it again from dark sources out with Scotland. They know it's coming. Anybody that's saying it's not coming is after chump. And as I say, wee Govey's at it again. No, there'll be no court action. Of course there won't. What would the action be based on? Denying the people the right to ask themselves a question. The court would throw it right out the bloody window. They know that. Right, let's move on. Where were we? Anyway, the DUP are still holding Northern Ireland to ransom over the protocols. Now, as we know, the protocols are popular in Northern Ireland businesses, and the Northern Ireland Assembly as well. Whereas there's 90 MLAs and 54 of them are in favour. 53 or 54, sorry, are in favour of the protocols. So even if the protocols were to be put to a vote in the Assembly, which they're due to be, could be why the Tories and the DUP are playing funny buggers in Northern Ireland, then the protocols would be supported. Right, let's move on. Monday, also down that road, Partygate just won't go away for Bojo and the Tories. Labour and other opposition MPs are demanding Carrie Johnson's text messages arranging parties in the number 10 flat are published. Social media is also rife with rumours that Carrie has left Bojo the clown, but I haven't seen any concrete evidence of that. Okay, now will Carrie Johnson's text messages be made public? Nah, she's a private citizen, and that would be a breach of her privacy. So Labour and the opposition parties can demand to see her text messages all they want. They're not getting to see them. She's a private citizen. Okay, right, moving on. Monday, and the UK government's in talks with Centrica to reopening the giant gas storage facility in Yorkshire ahead of this winter in light of the Ukrainian war. The storage facility was mothballed in 2017 as the UK government refused to subsidise the running of the facility. So they're talking about this big giant gas storage plant in Yorkshire and getting it reopened again. It was only mothballed, it wasn't scrapped. So they want to get it up and running again. The UK government's going to give money to get it up and running again. Also in the same plan, there is a plan to extend the licences of the UK's remaining coal-fired power stations. So that'll be commitments made in COP26 out the bloody windy. Alright, so the plan is to get the big storage facility open again at Yorkshire. There's also gas pumping stations everywhere, storage facilities everywhere. They're just all mothballed. There's one in the outskirts of Glasgow at Royston. So, I mean, these facilities are still there. If they can get them certified, get them tested, get them up and running again, then there might be a backup plan. You know, there might be a backup plan. But at this point in time, it's just negotiations with Centrica, who own these facilities, to get them up and running again, alright? Right, also Monday, the European Union come to an agreement to cut imports of Russian gas. The plan will see the EU countries cut imports of Russian gas by 2/3 or 63%, alright? Now, Eastern European nations have exemptions from the agreement, because let's face it, they have no other way to get the bloody stuff, eh? So, this will smack Putin a wee bit on the body on the short term. You know, that'll be a wee slap in the puss for Putin in the short term. A 63% cut in gas sales to Europe, but that'll not worry Putin. It will only be short term. The world needs oil and gas. Putin's got oil and gas. He will sell that oil and gas to places out with Europe and the West. Pakistan, India, Brazil, all spring to mind. And of course China, there's already a big pipeline heading to China. There's already a big pipeline that carries oil and gas to China. So Putin will feel it in the short term, but in the long term it's not going to make any difference, because Putin will just find new markets for the oil and gas. And there are markets out there. As the Indian Premier said, when the West was putting pressure on him to stop buying Russian oil and gas, because Russia was selling it to India at a third of the price. Modi, I think it's Prime Minister Modi earlier in India, told the West to go and feck themselves. He wasn't interested in a war on a different continent. He was only interested in raising his own people out of poverty. And the deal that Putin was giving him was better than any deal he'd been offered for anywhere in the West. So there you go. President Modi, President Modi also said, Prime Minister Modi also said that Russia and connections with Russia were really important for Indian security, because they don't trust the bloody West, simple as that, and they certainly don't trust the little Englanders. Right, moving on, and Monday, back here in Scotland, and Scottish Tories introduced the Right to Recovery Bill to the Scottish Parliament. Now, the Tories don't give a shite about drink and drugs addicts, but the bill's introduction is it's an opportunity to embarrass the Scottish Government. Right, now the cuckoo's in the nest. They know fine well that the real problem with addiction problems here in Scotland is not down to the Scottish Government, and the Scottish electorate are no daft. We know that drugs policy and drugs law is reserved. We also know that Kit Malthouse, the police minister down that road, is in a full-on war with Police Scotland and the Scottish Government, because they won't get involved in his operation to hammer drug dealers. Because, as we know, especially in the cost of living crisis, you bang up one drug dealer and that one's there to take their place. People are skin. Selling drugs is an opportunity to make money for some people. But anyway, the whole point is the Scottish Government have decided to treat addiction as a health problem rather than a criminal matter. And that's causing a stushy between Westminster and Holyrood. So, the Tories introducing this bill was just a try to get a chance to, an attempt to embarrass the Scottish Government or Scottish drug death figures. What you weren't being told yesterday was, in the year 2021, drugs deaths in Scotland dropped by 8%. 8%. So, policies that have been introduced over the last few years are starting to take effect. What you've got to remember, folks, is the wheels of government move that bloody slow. A snail's faster. A snail is faster, you know. So, when you introduce a long-term policy like tackling drugs deaths and drugs addiction, then it does take a long time to filter through and for the effects to start to be seen. So the latest policies have been in place since 2017, and the effects of are starting to come through now. Okay, but as I say, the cuckoo's in the nest, especially Tories, don't give a shite about addiction problems in Scotland. It's just a chance to embarrass the Scottish Government. Right, that's what I've got for you there, the stories I picked out for the day. Right, sorry, from yesterday's news. I hope you found them interesting. I hope you found them informative. Not all of them would have been front page news, but as you know me, I like to squirrel around a wee bit and see what's out there before I pick the items that I want to talk about. So let's move on to this morning and what the papers have to say. And I'll get it off a big screen because it's easier for me, alright? The Metro has ScotRail Tartan Army U-turn. There wasn't a Tartan Army U-turn. This was this Murdo the Fud and that wee spanner dross in the Scottish Parliament about trains for the Fitty on Wednesday. There was always going to be bloody trains on for the Fitty on Wednesday, as John Swinney pointed out last week at First Minister's Questions. Spanners. See, who writes these? You can get really angry at the low quality of journalism in Scotland. In fact, journalism in Scotland is fucking dead. I'm a better journalist than these spanners. And I'm a truck driver. The Scotsman has ScotRail and scramble to find extra trains for football fans. Scramble, feck all. Just get them out the depot and put them on the track. Spanners. The Looney Rag the Express has more trains for Ukraine game, but just in Central Belt. Well, that's where the bloody game's being played, in the Central Belt. This is where 3 million of the population live. This is where the bloody Tartan Army lives. Wow. The Herald has patients in danger as 4,200 NHS beds cut over 12 years. Let Davy reform that headline for you. NHS Scotland does such a good job that 4,200 beds are no longer required as health outcomes improve in Scotland. How's that for flipping it on its head? Because when you read a bloody report, that's what it says. Right, the Record has Andy Gorham. Bomber saved me from drinking myself to death. It didn't help, Andy. Last time Sarah and I seen you in Lanark when you used to own that pub, you were pissed as a fart and acting like a donkey. Right, moving on. The Eye has Tory threat to Johnson growing by the day. Tell you, if Govey comes back and tells him you'll survive a vote of no confidence, believe me, Bojo will have his supporters patter in the letters and get this thing out the road. The National has MP to speak at Capital's Jubilee Weekend rally for Republic. Tommy Shepherd is going to speak at a Republican rally in Edinburgh this weekend. And the main headline in the National is Johnson on the brink. Tipping point for no confidence vote is within touching distance after Grey report. Telling you, once wee Govey comes back and tells him he'll survive that vote of no confidence, it will be all guns blazing. That no confidence vote will take place and Bojo will survive. Trust me, he's got them all by the hookies. By the short gullies. Anyway, moving on, the Scottish Daily Field, the other right-wing loony rag, has save us from the £100 tank of fuel, Rushy. And this is on the price of petrol. My local station, a litre of petrol is at £1.79.9. So in other words, 180 for a litre of petrol at my local petrol station. The local supermarket selling it at 169.9, which is 170 pence. Outrageous. Anyway, the Scottish Daily Mail carries the news that ministers are facing mounting pressure to cut fuel taxes further after the cost of filling a family car with diesel passed £100 for the first time. The paper says price hit a record average of £1.82.59 a litre. Alright, so there you have it. Right, the Telegraph has poorest will pay for SNP census shambles. Let me make this clear, folks. When it comes to a national census, even in England, in fact UK-wide, when it used to be UK-wide census, the target was always to hit 90%. The target was always to hit 90% because that way you have the majority view and the majority of information on the people. Well, guess what? The Scottish census has reached 90%. So this crap out the poorest will pay for SNP census shambles is another bollocks headline. Just another bollocks headline. Where are we? Let's find the star, because I like to keep the star to laughs, because let's face it, it's always some nonsense in the star. What's the star got for us a day? And the star has Tartan Army woe, struggling home from Hampden and can't stay in Qatar. I don't get that. The Daily Star says that Scotland players will struggle to find anywhere to stay in Qatar should they qualify for World Cup. There you have it. I bet you the SFA will come up with something, you know. Alright folks, that's what I have for you today. I hope you found it entertaining. I hope you found it enjoyable. Let's hope this one does a wee bit better in shares than what yesterday's video did. As I say, what funny about yesterday's video was 2,000 people watched it, but only 150 people shared it. That was unusual. Very unusual. So if you like what I do, folks, you know I don't want money, I don't really want self-promotion, just share the video around, okay? Now, the usual stuff, didn't have time for it yesterday, alright? Now that there's no elections on the go, and we've got a campaign and pressure to put on the Scottish Government to get on with getting the referendum up and running, partisan politics in your pockets, right? Eyes on the prize, and learn how you gonies and get out there and win hearts and minds. I see that Gordon McIntyre Kemp's updating his campaign as well. So let's get active, folks. Alright, now support the independent media, support independent vloggers and bloggers, you know, the people, Broadcasting Scotland, Independence Live, Caldon Media, that sort of thing. If you've got a crowdfunder on the go and you've got a couple of shekels to spare, please throw them in the pot, because these people do fabulous work. And health messaging. Well, as we know, COVID rose a little in Scotland last week. It went from 1 in 45 to 1 in 41 people carrying the disease. So remember, it's still out there, so follow the guidance, face coverings in closed public spaces, clean hands and surfaces regularly. Use your napper when it comes to social distancing, and if you're still testing, submit your test results so we can keep an eye on how much COVID's in the community. Okay, you guys have a lovely day. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again. Bye for now.